Right now, we're going to welcome Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia. I've been here since 1989. Adrian, I think I've heard your name as long as I have been here. In some capacity, you have been, you've been the sheriff, you've been the mayor pro tem, member of city council, commissioner of Precinct 2. You're a true public servant, and I want to thank you up front for that. You've been around forever.
Well,
in a good way.
Look, first of all, congratulations to you guys for this incredible show. I get a great vibe from it. So all the best to you and much success. But Houston's been good to me. Look, I'm a proud son of immigrant parents, and Houston just gave me the opportunity to serve the way I should serve the city. And so I'm just honored. I'm blessed.
Okay, you got to tell me. What gives you the biggest headache? Of all the different jobs you've had, which one keeps you up at night most?
It's all relative, but the one that did keep me up at night was being sheriff. So I have immense respect for Sheriff Gonzalez because the work of our law enforcement doesn't stop just from 8 to 5. It's an around-the-clock effort, and so we always have to respect and honor our law enforcement officers.
So we were just talking to Chris Hollins about the deficit in the city of Houston and salaries and pick up trash and that sort of thing. You at Harris County Commissioners Court voted to raise minimum wages of county employees. So I want to ask you, raise them from what to what, and why was that important to you? Because he's trying to cut costs when it comes to overtime, at least. And you're not trying to cut costs; you're raising those wages.
Yeah. Well, look, it's a matter of priorities, and where the latest action that we've taken is specifically to raise the salaries of our janitorial staff, and those that are not only work for the county, but those that are provided to us through vendor services. And look, on the side note, my mom was a janitor, so I have an immense respect for those men and women that take care of these buildings when we're gone, and they make sure that it's tidied up for the next guest in the morning, and so immense respect for them. But it's also about making sure that we do what we can to impact the quality of life, ensure that we're addressing ways to impact poverty, and so doing what we can to ensure that people who are doing a honorable work, a hard-working service for our communities are also being compensated appropriately.
And that other part of compensation is access to health care.
That's right.
And we understand that's a big concern for a lot of people living in your precinct. You've been quoted as saying that your precinct has some of the lowest rates of health care insurance in all of Texas. So talk to us a little bit about that and what you're doing to address that currently.
Celeste, when I ran for this job, I talked about 5 things. One of them is that I have the lowest median income of all of Harris County, which as a consequence, I think gives me the lowest homeownership rate of all of Harris County, which as a consequence, I believe impacts my lowest educational attainment rate at the high school and post-high school level, which I absolutely believe impacts the fact that I have the highest number of children and families without health insurance, which also impacts the fact that I have the highest mortality rate by 20 years on my side of town. I have the highest rates of cancer in some areas in the county, and in some areas I have the highest rates of cancer in the state. So making sure that I have good, equitable, accessible, quality health care for members of my community has been priority number one. It's why I work to implement the Smart Pods to Access2Health Smart Pods. And that was to make sure that, the world-renowned medical centers in our backyard, but for many in my precinct, they don't even know it exists because they can't afford it, they can't access it, they can't get to it. And so creating partnerships with Baylor College of Medicine was essential for me to make sure that that service is being provided to everyone in the county, but especially those who are confronted with the challenges that I have.
We have to have a healthy society.
That's right.
There's no question about that.
And I'm curious how the pods work. Are you trying to encourage people to do preventative measures? Because I think a lot of times people don't understand that the preventative is what can really be that key component to healthcare.
You're spot on. Making sure that we develop early healthy habits is critical, making sure our children learn this. But also to make sure that those who are sort of speaking to your first question, speaking to those that are on hourly wages, if you tell someone, hey, go get your annual checkup, well, that's maybe 2 hours out of my day. That's 2 hours salary. Yeah. That's 2 hours that impacts my ability to go buy eggs, go buy milk, pay the rent. So people may put that off to the side. So the Access2Health Smart Pods are placed in some of my parks so that it's walkable. making sure that I am leveraging the foot traffic that's going to my parks, but also giving them the opportunity to walk into one of my pods, get enrolled by the Harris County Health Department, getting enrolled with the Harris County, with the Harris Center for Mental Health Services as well, doing what I can to also diminish the stigma of mental health healthcare. And so they're placed in places that you wouldn't think about, in my parks, in my community centers, so that it's walkable. That's the key.
Accessibility.
Exactly.
I'm going to take a little broader view here when we talk about raising the minimum wage for county employees. But as we look, prices keep going up. Rents are so. I know people who have minimum wage jobs and can't afford rent, can't afford groceries. We're on a path that looks very dangerous. It's going to collide at one point. What can we be doing? What can you be doing at a county level to help with this? Or is this beyond that local field?
No, look, I think we all have a role to play in this. And one of the things that I've been working on is working to create more good paying jobs in my side of town, but in the county in general. I was the one that led the first tax abatement in Harris County in 2019. 12 years prior was the last one that was done. This one created the Great Wolf Lodge, which created thousands of construction jobs and then ultimately created hundreds of seasonal and permanent jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's making sure that you're doing all you can to create a more robust employment sector that can serve everyone in the county. The other thing that I've worked hard to do is to ensure that the money that I spend, whether on construction or landscaping or other types of services, that I do what I can to recruit area businesses from Precinct 2 to help lift that median income and create opportunities. So I'm very bullish on telling our vendors, hey, we're creating an opportunity here in Harris County. Congratulations for getting a contract. But don't forget the people that live around the area. Think about ways to employ them and create opportunities for them.
Are you ready for the World Cup?
Absolutely. Frank, I'll tell you that before I joined City Council, one of my last side gigs as a Houston cop was protecting the World Cup at the U.S.-Mexico exhibition game that was played in Argentina in 2003. There was so much energy that I told someone, look, when the building starts to crumble, I'm going to take this World Cup and I'm going to run. You can follow me. But then I joined City Council and I worked with Oliver Luck, who was the CEO of the Houston Sports Authority at the time. And we traveled to Mexico to try to bring a franchise here. Ultimately ended up with the San Jose Earthquakes, and that became the Houston Dynamo. But the conversation back then was, if there was any debate that Houston was a soccer team, that debate should have been diminished with that U.S.-Mexico exhibition game. And to be here in our lifetime, to be hosting the World Cup, is absolutely exciting.
So we had someone that asked about the grass situation. Do you have any idea what that situation is about?
Turf versus real grass.
The World Cup has very strict guidelines.
Yeah.
They need to have real grass, not artificial stuff. And so it's a conversation. It's a requirement. And
So we're going to do it.
Hey, look, we want to get the World Cup again. So we're going to do everything they need us to do to make sure it's successful.
Well, we want to get you again, and we're going to do everything we can to make you. So thank you so much for coming in and joining us on the show.
Congratulations again.
Thank you,
Again,
Commissioner.
your public service for your whole life. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.